Hey guys, what's up? It's Jules here for WhatCulture Gaming, joined as ever by the microtransaction that always goes deep into my wallet, if you know what I'm saying. Josh Brown!
Yeah, hello.
How are you today?
I'm alright, thank you very much.
Actually doing the full face turn.
I know, I don't like it, to be honest.
But you know what? We're not having a face turn on today.
No?
Activision, because they've been a bit rude. So, you know what that means?
Hit the jingle.
Damn right. Got you.
I've got it, I've nailed it. 2 years, I'm finally here.
What's that? There's news? Oh my gosh! Guess it's time for Jules and Josh!
Oh, and we're back in the room. And yes, we are talking about Activision today because there's a little game. You might have played it. It's a very good game based on an older good game.
Yes.
Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled edition. It is honestly, it's a fantastic remake. The developers have done an exceptional job with this game. As you can probably tell, we're huge fans of it. And if you watched our streams and got to see Scott get absolutely decimated by the public,
Absolutely.
that was just class as well. But there is a problem on the horizon, one that's coming very, very quickly, and that is the fact that this game is now getting microtransactions.
Oh, because of course it is. We were all worried that this would happen, and then of course Activision couldn't resist from putting in microtransactions post-launch. Like, they keep doing this, Jules. They did it to every Call of Duty for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
They just can't resist, and it just seems so shady. But as always, it's not a kind of pay-to-win thing. All of the microtransactions in the game, which are purely to buy more Wumpa coins, because of course there is an in-game currency, is going to be spent on cosmetics and new characters and things like that. So it's not going to fundamentally, give someone an advantage with better cars or anything like that. But still, that is not the point. It's the way this is being implemented and not necessarily what the system is, because they were never kind of upfront about this, and now they are suddenly in a blog post. They've not hidden it, but they've slipped it in with a bunch of other news about what the new Grand Prix is going to be, which kicks off August 2nd, I think. In the way they have kind of just slipped it in there and been like, oh, there's also a new way to buy the currency if you want to. It's totally optional, because they love that line.
Now, this is the thing. I've played the game quite a lot, and there is a very, very apparent grind that's in there. In fact, the only way to get to the sort of gold tier of the Grand Prix is to use cars that have nitro boosting qualities that allow you to get more sort of out of it. But I do find, just in general, I've got no problem with them adding in paid-for cosmetics.
Yeah.
I have a problem with this now that is clearly going to affect the regular grind that you've got going, which is extensive to begin with. I bet you the rewards will go down and down and down until we end up in a situation where only the Wumpa coin purchases. And I genuinely get annoyed about the whole fake currency using real currency to buy it, because you buy them in tranches. You go 1,000 Wumpa coins, 5,000 Wumpa coins, 10,000 Wumpa coins. The thing you want to buy will leave you with that extra fake currency left over that you don't want anything for, but you've had to spend over the limit that you'd normally buy it for. And it just frustrates me. I remember back when Xbox Live first came out, you would see exactly how much it was in pounds or dollars, whatever your currency was, and you would just buy it for that. You wouldn't buy the currency to then buy it in game.
It's a frustrating thing, because Activision aren't the only, I was going to say criminals there, which is not what I want to say. Perpetrators of this. Yeah, we're not saying that.
That's liable.
Perpetrators. They are not the only perpetrators of kind of that sort of method. It's in one of my favorite games of this generation, Rainbow Six Siege, which adopts the same kind of policy where you buy a certain amount of their in-game currency, but then, like you say, it leaves you with stuff left over, which encourages you to also, buy more to eventually get another thing, because you can't just have them go to waste. That is real money exchange for fake money. But it's kind of the way that Activision has gone about this, because, they got a lot of good they got a lot of praise for this.
We were talking about it before.
Scott gave it 5 stars, and he said obviously prefaced in the review, because he kind of expected this, that if they do end up adding this system, then the score might go down. But it's just, for me, it's the practice of publishers, and not only Activision, releasing games that have a lot of free content, and then later on kind of swapping the narrative around, so then it is paid for content, and then the grind becomes the real chore, and then that's all people talk about. But because it's no longer in the conversation, because the reviews are already out and people have already bought it, it doesn't get picked up as much as it should. It's not as big as a controversy as it should, and it doesn't really affect Activision as much as it should.
Well, there are some games that are out there right now that are literally unrecognizable from when they launched, because of the changes and because of the gradual sort of shift towards this sort of microclimate that they've created. And it does ask the question, is it a fair thing to do. At the end of the day, it's their game and they can do whatever they want with it. But by adding in these changes, you're effectively changing what the game is as a whole, and therefore the reviews aren't valid, and therefore anyone who goes to say, if you go to a trusted review site, I don't know, like Kotaku or IGN or one of the big guys, even us, like if you want to check out our stuff, then you'll find that our reviews aren't actually necessarily linking up with the game that you are about to purchase. Say that you're a year down the line and you go and pick it up. Like, yes, the core mechanic might be the same, but how the game is played and why people stick with it might have completely changed.
Well, that's it. I think the reviewing landscape has changed from the olden days where you would just review a product at launch and that would be the same. Now we have more reviews in process that take a lot longer to take in the totality of a product and kind of how it changes. But even then, they are eventually kind of static. Like, we don't have the manpower to go back and constantly update reviews for old games or impressions for old games when new things are added like this and updates are coming out so constant. So then you do have that weird dissonance between the original review, which doesn't talk about these things because they weren't there, and the end product and what it's morphed into. I think it's really fascinating.
Well, I've seen people get annoyed at the review sites. I've seen them go like, why aren't you telling people about this thing? And it's like, it's not technically their prerogative to go back to review a game that is technically already launched, because there is an understanding between the reviewer and the game's developer that what you are receiving is the final product. This is changing that dynamic, and weirdly enough, as angry as people are getting at the developers for adding in these things and changing what they've paid for, there is a weird backlash as well against the review sites for either taking too long because they're saying that their reviews are in progress, so people are saying, well, why should I trust this and wait for it when I can just play the game myself? Or they're saying that your review is completely out of date and therefore I don't trust you as a review source.
Yes.
And that's creating a weird dichotomy of the value of review sites.
It's a weird, it's very odd, and you wonder if that's purposeful on the behalf of the publishers themselves, because I don't know if over the past few years especially we've seen kind of reviews and the publishers' approach to getting reviews out completely shift. They are now more focused on influencers playing their games rather than, conventional reviews, because they don't often, and this isn't just Activision, but a lot of publishers don't send out copies until,
Bethesda,
day
isn't
one.
it?
Bethesda don't,
Perfect.
at least. Well, they didn't. I think they're starting to change this policy now, but they didn't send out review copies at all until afterwards.
It's strange. They're starting to almost ask the question of where the balance of power is. It used to be maybe 5 or 6 years ago that if a reviewer came out and deigned with their mighty thumb yes or no, then that could really affect the game's sales. Nowadays, because like you say, the hands of the influencer generation, where they're playing these games either in beta or they're getting all this coverage out before it, they're basically getting all their free reviews done for them that way. It's a very, very strange power shift, and I do wonder, because we don't rely on reviews.
Yeah.
Like we're a website that relies on all the news or editorials or list stuff. I do think that there might be review sites that are going to be hit really hard with this, because there's going to be people like, well, we can't trust you, not because we don't trust your opinions, but because the games are completely shifting, and then they're living, their games are alive now.
It's that strange sort of grey area that I think a lot of this stuff kind of falls into. Even the idea of a kind of Battle Pass style season pass now. We've got rid of the sort of $20 expansions that you will purchase at launch, and then you will get content throughout the year, which in itself was kind of bad in my opinion, because you were essentially buying a promise. You often had no idea what that content was going to be. But now it's sort of this model where you have cosmetic microtransactions, and that informs and allows the developers to create new content, which I totally get. I like that these games are supported, and there needs to be ways for devs to kind of justify that cost, and this is one of the ways. It's just, for me, the messaging of it, and that's why this Activision Crash Team Racing thing is so frustrating, because if they came out at launch and were kind of open about it and said, you know what, at some point down the line we're going to need to include some kind of microtransactions to support it.
But they never said that, because when Scott and I went to the pre-launch event, I'm sure we can talk about this now because it's so far behind us, they said that all the cosmetics and stuff would be unlockable. And while that is still true, what they don't tell you is the dynamics that are going on outside of the player's view, like the percentages of the win rates and stuff like that. That's the thing that I've got a problem with. I actually commend them in the fact that they're only sticking to cosmetics, that there is no gameplay changing things there. That is their want to do, and you know what, there are some of the skins out there that I do want. That's clear love and effort that's gone into that, and new characters, fine. But am I prepared to play the game for 20 hours to unlock something that's been artificially held at a distance from me when it potentially should be at a lower price and upfront? I don't know. That's a discussion for. It depends on the game.
It's one of those things because from a certain perspective, this might be viewed as sort of a step in the right direction because it's not loot box based. It's not trying to make you roll the dice or anything.
You know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah, if you want to buy the skins, you can go out and just buy the skins with the coins. You just have to kind of, either go through the grind, like you said, or pay up front for the coins and just skip that entirely and buy it. But at the same time, it's still not great. It's still in iffy kind of way to support a game in the long term, especially a game like Crash Team Racing, which I think you could do standalone expansions for and just say, look, you can buy this Grand Prix or whatever. Not necessarily that, but
the support in terms of the track that they offer you, every single Grand Prix comes with a new track. That's absolutely fine, and I actually do feel like I would want to give the developers a bit of time and money because of the fact that I know that is extra content that was planned but wasn't in development at the time there. So that sort of stuff. But we're moving back into just DLC pack territories.
Yeah.
I would rather wait for the 4 tracks to come out and just buy them as that, because I would then know that is what I'm buying. I don't want to just be like, there's like 3 skins that I want here, like whatever, I don't know.
And in this case, I think with Activision, it is, it's easy to jump to kind of like the nuclear option and assume it's going to be this really bad thing because of what they've done with Call of Duty in the past, where the microtransactions and the loot boxes added to those games were very transformative and not additive, whereas you would hope that in Crash Team Racing it would just add more content and add more choice rather than transform the game that's already there. But like we say, the history would suggest that it is going to be this kind of insidious thing. Who knows, this might be just the start of an even more pronounced push later on, because they have not been open with the messaging from the beginning. I think that's the problem. But then it's hard to get any of the publishers to actually just say the words microtransactions or loot boxes. We saw in the government hearing, I think, that you can find on YouTube that we covered in the news.
Surprise mechanics.
Then they went for the surprise mechanics. They don't even want to say the words loot boxes. And
also in Gearbox's thing, when they had, it's like, there won't be any microtransactions, but you will be able to buy skins. And it's like, you need to define what the microtransactions are.
It's because it's become such a dirty word. No one wants to talk about it, but then that obfuscates the point in the messaging even more, because if you can't say the word, then you have this weird implication middle ground where you are being vague. It looks like you're trying to hide something, even if you're not trying to hide something.
Yeah, I think that it would call for a developer to basically stand up and say, like, look, this is the game, and then further down the line, we're going to release DLC and skins. Is it that hard?
Yeah.
Is it that hard to do? Like, is it that hard? People just go like, oh, were you developing these things at the same time as that? No, we weren't.
Yeah.
Fine. They're not going to be day 1 DLC. Cool, I'm happy with that. Like, and I can choose to buy it, and I can see the prices what they are. Yes, you can.
But that just doesn't happen, and especially in the case of Crash Team
hard?
Racing, you had this Grand Prix. It's like, look at all the free content. You can unlock it just by playing the game, but also that's going to take you ages. And then later on down the line, we're going to introduce a bunch of in-game currency that you can buy outright, and then you can just purchase these.
I hate to use the comparison, but it's drug pusher mentality. The first one is free. That is what they always. That's what they always say, man.
Well, it's always addictive.
And you end up looking like me.
It's always preying on that addictive personality. Everything.
It is.
I mean, we've literally just got a casino in Grand Theft Auto, so that metaphor has never been more prescient.
But there we go, yeah, so there are now going to be microtransactions in Crash Team Racing. Let us know what you think about this down in the comments section below. Are you for or against the idea of how Activision is rolling out, and how would you decide to put microtransactions into your game? I want to know what the public thinks on this. Is it better to be upfront, or do you think that this sort of backdoor shenanigan of, ooh, have this one for free, ooh, next one's going to cost you, buddy. Like, is that the right mentality? Who knows? Anyway, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at RetroJ with a 0 for myself. And
Josh Broon with 2 O's at twitter.com.
Ooh, there he is, twitter.com. And until tomorrow, or whenever we decide to do more news, probably tomorrow.
Probably tomorrow. Whoa, I went really high there. Probably tomorrow.
Well, in that case then, we'll speak to you soon. Bye.